international
Sure.
program?
Oh, India's been very successful in space the last 20 years, very well respected around the world. The Mars orbital mission to circle Mars, first time a country's ever done that. They're on their first opportunity, made famous in the movie Mission Mangal. And so no one's ever done that before. So that is major respect. Then most recently, of course, we had several astronauts of Indian descent fly in space. And then we had the landing on the moon last year by India. And it landed on a polar region, which no one's ever done before. So again, in the world history, they just did something no one else has ever done. So there's, of course, major respect by that. And then just 4 or 5 months later, India announced that their own capsule to send humans into space was nearing certification, and they named their first 4 astronauts also. And so hopefully sometime next year, the first Indian astronauts on an Indian spaceship will go into space. So it just keeps moving the reputation higher and higher.
So what do you think it's going to happen after this generative AI conclave? This is India's first international conclave that's happening in Kochi. So what do you think that's going to happen? What would be the lessons? What would be the outcomes, after this
Sure.
conclave?
So I think what we'll see happen with generative AI is that it will improve our lives and the lives here in Kerala and Kochi and all of India in ways we can't even imagine. The Honorable Minister of Defense made a very eloquent speech yesterday in which he outlined many specific examples of how generative AI will help people's lives in India. For example, the use of water, disaster response, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the really important things he mentioned is that we need to make sure that generative AI curriculum is in the curriculum now of Indian youth so that they have that technology knowledge as they grow up and help make society better even in the years ahead. So I think the future is super bright. This is just the start.
But there are so many concerns, with job loss, losing jobs, unemployment, so many concerns. Do you think the generative AI can help us to deal with that as well?
Yes, I think anytime a new technology comes along, it's going to have some negative effects because that's just the way people are. But the benefits will far outweigh the negatives. And the benefits, we can't even imagine what they all are because people are so creative. And the example I'll give you is that when the smartphone came out, people thought, oh, there's going to be several hundred amazing applications. Well, there's so many smart people in the world that there's thousands of applications. No one could have ever imagined that the smartphones would be used. The same will happen with generative AI.
And how has your life changed, after the NASA expeditions? What made you, this thing?
Sure. Yeah, no, flying in space really changes your perspective on a couple of things. One is when you see the Earth from space, it has this effect called the overview effect. It's two different words, overview and effect. But in any case, it makes you respect the Earth more because it's so beautiful. You can see its atmosphere is very thin, and you realize it's an island. So when you live on an island in a vast ocean, you need to take care of it. So I am much more respectful of the Earth. And the second is you don't see any borders from space, so you realize we really are one global community. And it's almost difficult to comprehend why there are conflicts and wars. And so astronauts, when they come back from space, are more tolerant and more interested in promoting peace. And I wish we could fly all of the leaders of the world in space, because when they would see that, they would come back and it would be a different world.
And any truth to all these myths, all the conspiracy theories about UFOs and, other stuff?
Yeah, so it's the most common question now. The Hubble Space Telescope has told us that there are maybe 1 trillion galaxies in the universe. And each galaxy, if it's like ours, has hundreds of billions of stars. So if you have 1 trillion galaxies and hundreds of billions of stars, the likelihood of there being some form of life, not unidentified flying object, but just some form of life, maybe it's just a microbe, maybe it's something bigger, I think there has to be. There has to be. And if you were to ask any other astronaut, they'd say the same thing. And when I ask the public these days to tell me by raising their hands if they think there's something out there, they always all raise their hands. Because mathematically, there just seems there has to be.
Okay,
Thank you.
About generative AI, influencing India or even United States in the upcoming space programs or space missions?
Yes, so I think generative AI is going to have applications across our society, as the Honorable Chief Minister said yesterday. But in space, it will help automate certain things so that we don't have to spend the astronauts' time doing mundane things or dangerous things. So we'll be seeing an increase in the ability to automate things. But also I think there's so much information to process about the Earth that generative AI will be used to help us understand the Earth's climate and weather better. I mean, to this day, we can still kind of guess what the weather's going to be like. But I think with generative AI, we'll know much better exactly what time things will happen and geographically where it would happen, rather than just, it might rain tomorrow. So I